When I lost my job, my FIL threw my laptop off the balcony. That's all you're good for, breaking things and wasting time. My SGL laughed and said, guess you'll be mooching off us like always. I stared at the cracked screen below and said, you just made a bigger mistake than you realize. Now they're panicking over a letter I sent last night. When I got laid off, I didn't tell anyone right away. I couldn't. I just sat in the same spot on the edge of the guest bed, holding my phone in my hand, staring at that short, cold email from HR like it was a death certificate. I had worked there for 6 years. I wasn't anyone special, just a guy in the background who made sure things got done. I did coding, back-end systems, a lot of internal stuff. I didn't speak much in meetings. I wasn't good at networking or playing office politics. But I was consistent. I stayed late, picked up other people's slack, and kept things running. I really thought that counted for something. Turns out, it didn't. The email said they were restructuring, and my role had been made redundant. They said I could apply for other roles internally, but there were none. I checked. The truth is, they'd already picked who they were keeping. People like me weren't on the list. I closed the laptop and just sat there. It was Thursday. I had just finished making my wife coffee and bringing it to her downstairs. She was helping her mom get groceries in. I thought I had another quiet day of resume tweaks and freelance stuff ahead of me. But then the axe fell. I didn't know how to tell her, or what it would mean for us now. We had moved into her parents' house nearly a year ago. It was only supposed to be 3 months. That's what we agreed on, just until we could save up after her pregnancy. She had to stop working during the second trimester after a scare, and I told her not to worry, that I'd pick up the slack. I picked up freelance gigs when I could, but they were inconsistent. Still, we were managing. But managing turned into surviving. 3 months became 6, then 9, then 11. Living with her family was hard from day one. Her dad is the kind of guy who always needs to feel bigger than everyone else in the room. He brags about being a self-made man, even though he inherited the land his contracting business sits on. Every dinner was a lecture. He mocked people who worked office jobs. He'd say stuff like, real men build with their hands, or, you work with screens. I work with concrete. At first, I let it go. He was helping us. I told myself I needed to be respectful. But over time, it wore me down. He would walk past my little desk in the den and scoff. Say things under his breath like, parasite, or deadweight. He thought I didn't hear, but I did. My sister-in-law, Diana, wasn't any better. She was back living at home after leaving a failed marriage. She acted like a teenager, even though she was in her 30s. She barely worked, spent all day scrolling social media or talking on speakerphone in the hallway, and treated me like I was invisible, except when she wanted to make a joke at my expense. Oh look, she'd say, still playing tech support up here? I told my wife everything. She hated it. She offered to say something, but I always stopped her. Just a few more months, I kept saying. We'll get out soon. I didn't tell her about the layoff until that night. She cried when I told her. Not because she blamed me, but because she knew what it meant. We didn't have savings anymore. Everything had gone toward medical bills and baby stuff. We were barely scraping by as it was. She wanted to pack up and leave, but there was nowhere to go. We had a toddler in one car. I told her we'd figure something out. 2 days later, it happened. I was updating my resume again, fixing the formatting, scrolling through listings and taking notes. I was sitting in the den, laptop in my lap, typing slowly. My wife was out with the baby. Her mom was in the kitchen. Then I heard heavy footsteps coming up the stairs. It was her dad. He didn't say anything at first. Just stood there in the doorway with that same scowl he always wore when he looked at me. His eyes went straight to the laptop. You on that damn thing again? I tried to stay calm. I said, just working on some job stuff. He walked over, didn't say another word, and snatched the laptop out of my hands. I stood up. I didn't raise my voice. I just asked him to stop. Instead, he stormed out onto the balcony connected to the den. I followed him, heart pounding. I honestly thought he was just trying to scare me. But he wasn't bluffing. He held the laptop out over the railing. This what you call working, he said. Sitting up here all day mooching? You're pathetic. And then he let go. It felt like slow motion. I watched it fall, bounce off the edge of the porch roof, and hit the concrete driveway. The screen was cracked, the casing bent. I saw it from the balcony. Everything went silent inside me. That's all you're good for. Breaking things and wasting time. He turned around and walked inside like nothing happened. And Diana was standing there behind him, laughing. Guess you'll be mooching off us like always. I didn't yell. I didn't move. I just stood there staring at what used to be mine. My work. My files. My last link to a world that still saw me as someone useful. Then I looked up and said, "You just made a bigger mistake than you realize." He laughed. She rolled her eyes. That night, I didn't eat. I didn't talk. I just sat at the kitchen table with my wife while she cried. She wanted to scream at them. She said we should leave, even if it meant sleeping in the car. I held her hand and told her we'd figure it out. But in my head, something had shifted. They thought they destroyed the only thing I had. But I had backups. Not everything, but enough. A few months ago, my father-in-law had bragged to me about a government contract he was trying to win. He asked for help, making it look more official. He had me edit the bid documents, format the files, organize the budget breakdown. I had partial access to his business email for a while because he was too lazy to forward attachments. Some of the numbers didn't make sense. Some invoices were clearly duplicates. Others had mismatched vendor names. I brought it up once, and he told me to just do what I was told. So I did. But I saved everything. I didn't know why at the time. Just a gut feeling. But now I did. Last night, I printed out the documents. Highlighted the discrepancies. I wrote a short, plain letter explaining that I was a concerned citizen and believed the bid submitted under his company name might include fraudulent information. I included dates, file names, and photocopies. I sent it by certified mail to 2 agencies, one that issued the contract, and another that oversees licensing for contractors in the state. I didn't sign my name. I didn't need to. This morning, things were different. He got a call at 7:34 a.m. I watched him through the window. He answered, said nothing for a long time, then started shouting. He threw his phone across the living room. Diana hasn't left her room all day. My wife hasn't said a word to her parents since breakfast. They think they're in control. They think I'm weak. But I was never the one sleeping under someone else's roof out of entitlement. I came here because I had no other choice. They just made theirs. And it's going to cost them more than they can imagine. The day after the call, the house got strange. It was quiet in the way hospitals are quiet. Like something bad had happened, but no one was talking about it. Her dad barely spoke. He didn't even yell when the trash hadn't been taken out. That alone was weird. He was always yelling at someone about something. Diana stayed locked in her room for 2 days. I only saw her once, through a crack in the hallway door. She was pacing, talking on her phone in a hushed voice. When she saw me, she slammed the door. My wife asked her mom what was going on. She just said, "Business stuff," and walked off. But then on day 3, things started slipping out. I heard her dad on the phone again, early in the morning. He was in the garage with the door half open. I was outside pretending to take out the trash. He didn't know I was nearby. "I don't know who the hell sent it," he said, voice low but tense. "They have the bid packet. With the old numbers. The version before we cleaned it." Then he went quiet for a long time. "No, I didn't shred anything. I didn't think I needed to. I thought he..." And then he stopped mid-sentence. He must have realized what he almost said. That afternoon, a white sedan with government plates showed up. 2 men in button-down shirts got out. They didn't stay long. 20 minutes, maybe. I watched them walk out holding a file folder. Her dad didn't walk them out. He just stood in the entryway looking pale. That night at dinner, no one spoke. It was the first time I had ever seen her father pick at his food. His hands were shaking a little. I didn't say a word. I just watched. The next day, I got a call from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer. "Is this my name?" the voice said. I didn't confirm. I just stayed silent. "We received your documents," the voice continued. "We may have follow-up questions. That contract is now under internal review. Thank you." Click. That was it. No name. No confirmation of anything. I felt something that day. Not joy. Not victory. Just a stillness inside me. Like I was finally standing up, even if no one else could see it yet. But that's when things got worse. Her father must have started suspecting me. Maybe because of the timing. Maybe because I was too quiet. Or maybe he just wanted someone to blame. And I was easy. That night, after everyone went to bed, he came into the den. I heard the floor creak and opened my eyes. I had been dozing on the couch. He stood over me, arms crossed. "You think you're clever?" he said, voice low and bitter. "You think you can mess with me and get away with it?" I sat up, but didn't say anything. He stepped closer. You don't know what kind of trouble you're playing with. I built this business from the ground up. I fed this family. You think I won't bury you to protect it?" I just looked at him. I didn't flinch. "Get a job," he spat. "Or get the hell out." I waited until he left. Then I got up, packed a small bag, and went to the car. I texted my wife. Told her I wasn't leaving for good. I just needed space. I went to a friend's apartment. He had a tiny couch and a small studio, but he let me crash there. And that's when Diana started messaging me. The first message was short. "You think we don't know what you did?" Then another. "You just ruined our lives over a stupid laptop?" I ignored them. But then she got nastier. "I hope you're proud. My dad might go to jail. My mom is a wreck. And it's your fault." What she didn't say, though, was just as loud. She didn't say I was wrong. Because I wasn't. My wife came to see me 2 days later. She brought the baby. She cried the whole time. She said her dad was spiraling. He started drinking during the day. Her mom wasn't talking to anyone. Diana said she wanted me out of the house permanently. And then my wife told me the part that made my blood run cold. Her dad tried to wipe his business laptop, but IT for the city had already made a copy of everything. They had taken his server, and they were now looking into other contracts he'd won over the past 5 years. It wasn't just one bad bid. He had been doing this a long time. That was when it hit me. This wasn't about a laptop anymore. This was about a man who thought he could walk on anyone and never be caught. Who thought his family would cover for him. Who thought no one like me, quiet, broke, tired, could ever touch him. He thought wrong. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Because then Diana did something I didn't see coming. She filed a fake police report. And she named me. The police came 2 days later. It was a plain gray car. No lights. Just 2 officers in plain clothes. They knocked on my friend's apartment door while I was changing the baby's diaper on the couch. They asked if I was me. I said yes. They asked if I knew a Diana Moreno. I nodded slowly. Then they asked if I had ever been violent with her. I laughed out of reflex. A quick, stupid sound. The officer didn't laugh back. She filed a statement. One of them said, "Claimed you threatened her after an argument last week. Said you broke into the house while she was home alone and shouted that you'd burn everything down." My stomach dropped. I felt dizzy. "That never happened," I said, barely above a whisper. "I believe you," my friend said from the kitchen, voice sharp. "He's been here. Nonstop. They didn't arrest me. They didn't even read me my rights. They just asked for my version. I gave them dates, times, messages, everything. My friend confirmed my alibi. He even offered security footage from the building lobby. I had never left. The cops nodded. They weren't rude, but they were firm. "False reports are serious too," one of them said. I knew what this was. It was a distraction, a trap, something to scare me, or maybe even destroy my credibility if things got worse with her father's case. And it might have worked if I hadn't had backup. 2 days after that visit, my wife called me crying. Not sad crying, angry crying. "They tried to force Mom to file something too," she said. Apparently, Diana and her dad had both cornered her mother in the living room, telling her she had to write a statement saying I harassed the family, made threats, and stole documents from the house. Her mom refused. And then her dad screamed at her, called her useless, told her she was choosing a worthless son-in-law over her real family. That was the first time she left the house since the investigation started. She packed a bag and went to stay at her sister's an hour away. This family was starting to come apart at the seams. But there was more. A twist I didn't see coming. It turned out her dad wasn't just in trouble over the government bid. The accounting mess I had flagged in those files. It connected to a subcontractor, an old friend of his named Marty, who had been sending fake invoices for jobs that never got done. The state didn't catch it until they started digging deeper after my letter. Then it opened a whole file of problems. Turns out, Marty had already been under quiet investigation for a separate fraud case. And now my father-in-law's name was showing up on his spreadsheets. And here's the worst part, Marty flipped. He gave names, dates, emails, all of it, including screenshots of texts between him and my father-in-law talking about padding the numbers and smoothing things out. Now it wasn't just a contract being reviewed. It was criminal. I got a call from the investigator a week later. A different one this time. More serious. They asked more questions. Wanted copies of the files I had saved. Wanted to know exactly when I had access, what I noticed, and when I backed things up. I told them everything. My friend helped me organize it into folders. I even found voice memos I forgot I had, recordings I took of her father yelling, just for my own record at the time. One of them caught a conversation about the bid, about making it look clean. It wasn't a smoking gun, but it was smoke. And then, another twist. Diana got fired from her job. I didn't even know she was working again. She had picked up part-time admin work at a finance firm 3 months earlier, just data entry. But after her false police report was filed and they started reviewing her background as part of a routine security check, things unraveled. She had listed managerial experience she didn't have. She used her ex-husband as a fake reference, and he outed her for it. The firm let her go quietly. I found out because she posted a long, angry rant on Facebook. How men destroy everything, and traitors live in your own home. She didn't name me, but people knew. Meanwhile, her dad had been summoned to a formal hearing. It wasn't public yet, but my wife said he was sweating through his shirt that morning. He hadn't shaved in days. Their family name, the business name, his license. Everything was at risk. I stayed quiet. I worked on new resumes. My friend helped me land a Zoom interview. I didn't have much left, but I had peace. For once. And then something weird happened. A letter came to my friend's apartment. No return address. Just my name. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Handwritten. Messy. Rushed. You better stop talking. You don't know what you're getting into. This isn't just about us anymore. Walk away while you can. There was no signature. But I recognized the handwriting. It was Diana's. When I read the letter, I didn't feel fear. I felt sad. Not for me, but for them. For what they'd become. For how far they were willing to go just to avoid facing the truth. A fake police report. A threatening note. Smearing me to anyone who'd listen. All while their own lives were rotting from the inside out. I gave the letter to the investigator the next day. He looked at it and sighed. He had already seen worse. But he kept it for the file. At that point, things moved fast. 2 weeks later, the state issued a formal suspension of my father-in-law's contracting license. The letter was delivered in person. I wasn't there, but my wife was. She said he threw a chair across the garage when he read it. His business was under audit. His accounts were frozen. City projects he'd worked on were paused. News started to trickle out, quietly at first, then louder. A local paper wrote an article about contract bidding irregularities tied to small public projects. They didn't name him, but people in the community started connecting dots. Subcontractors stopped answering his calls. Vendors pulled out. And then his truck, the one he always bragged about, got repossessed. That was when he finally cracked. He showed up at my friend's apartment at night, pounding on the door. My wife and I had just gotten back from grocery shopping. We had planned to spend the night watching a movie with the baby. Instead, we sat in the dark while he yelled outside for 10 minutes. You think you're better than me now? You think you can take what I built? I called the police. He was gone by the time they arrived, but we filed a report. That was the last time I saw him in person. 2 days later, my wife got a text from her mother. He's moved into a motel. We don't speak anymore. I'm sorry. Her mother finally left for good. She got her own apartment with help from her sister. She started working at a local church daycare. Nothing big, but it gave her peace. We still talk sometimes. And Diana? She tried to sue me. She filed a small claims suit accusing me of sabotage and emotional distress. She claimed my actions cost her employment and ruined her reputation. She showed up to court with a thick folder of printed-out Facebook screenshots and her police report. What she didn't know is that the court already had a copy of my folder. The false report, the alibis, the video footage, the threatening letter in her handwriting. The investigators had quietly sent over an affidavit confirming ongoing criminal inquiries tied to the original documents I'd provided. The judge dismissed her case before I even had to speak. She stood there, red-faced and trembling. She stormed out before the hearing ended. I never saw her again. As for me, I kept my head down. I started working again, small freelance jobs at first, then a remote role with a startup that understood gaps in resumes. I was honest with them. I told them I'd lived through a nightmare and was just trying to start over. They gave me a shot. My wife and I moved out of the apartment and into a small rental house in a quiet town 2 hours away. It's nothing fancy, but we pay the rent ourselves. No one throws anything off balconies. She started teaching yoga at a community center. Our son is in preschool now. He doesn't remember any of the chaos. Just the backyard he runs around in and the library trips every Thursday. The investigation into her father went federal. That was the last twist. Because it turns out, the fake bids didn't just stop at the city level. He'd been playing games with FEMA repair work after a storm 5 years ago. That made it federal fraud. He was arrested on a Tuesday morning. I saw it in the news. One photo. No mugshot. Just the article header. Local contractor indicted in multi-year bid fraud investigation. I didn't smile. I didn't cheer. I just folded the newspaper and made my son breakfast. It's been 9 months since all that ended. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd fought back sooner. If I had yelled or broken something or run. But the truth is, silence was my sharpest tool. Quiet remembering. Careful saving. Slow, steady survival. That's what undid them. Not noise. Not fists. Just truth. They built a house out of lies. All I did was pull away the first brick. The rest collapsed on its own.